Colton, if you were to come back and reincarnate, I think you would gain the consciousness of a kangaroo.
That's a fair statement. I don't see.
I
don't see anything to argue with there.
Top three animals, probably what you would come back as.
Fair enough. Good segue. Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Professional Hippies. If you're new to us, welcome. If you're a returning fan favorite, welcome. Hey, we like to bridge the gap between professionals and a little bit of that woo-woo. Not that you'd know it from any particular part of what we talk about, but today we have a returning guest, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Gutraz. What's up, buddy? Welcome back.
Here in Mexico.
Was that just a bottle of vodka you're just...
I am duly honored to be back with my my true brethren, and I gotta say I loved you guys a lot more than my real family. So, thank you.
There's a lot to unpack there. That was cryptic, poetic, and somehow anticlimactic. Hey guys, before we go any further, I do want to say,
Yeah.
and that's it. That's all about that. Dylan, do you remember that sponsorship I was going to reach out to about?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got them. I don't want to give them publicity because I'm not sure that I'd like them yet. Have you guys heard of MDMA alternatives?
A little bit.
Okay, I hadn't. So there's these things. I think that's just the brand name of them, but like Kana. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't.
No,
Okay,
go on.
yeah, I hadn't either. It's kind of like a kratom type kava kind of supplement. So, yeah, I don't know. They sent me this company I linked up with because I was like, hey, we could share you guys with the listeners or whatever. And I haven't tried their pill form yet. So it's supposed to be like MDMA, but legal. And then they have a smoke stick, which I'm going to try with you guys live.
I always get worried
on
about
air.
when they say, when someone comes up with something, they're like, this is legal. Like, how much did they alter it now? Like, how much other bullshit did they put
Two
in there?
things
All
I'm
of a sudden,
thinking are,
make it
if MDMA is legal, you don't really have to sales pitch that. That should be doing a pretty good job of selling itself. And
Sure. Yeah.
second is I can only think of that time when they had legal weed, the old K2, and that wasn't weed. So I'm with you, Dylan.
that went over well.
Yeah, I'm with you. And
Bath salts were legal too at
I
one
was about to
point.
say everybody's a big fan of legal meth. We were waiting a long time for that. So.
Well, I don't know. Isn't that what Adderall basically is legal meth?
Actually, yeah, and that is a big hit. So go on. All right.
Right. I mean, just I don't think they market it as like MDMA alternative. It's like a party alternative. It's not. The more I describe it, the more it sounds like bath salts. Actually, so yeah. I mean, I'm not going to
It's
refute.
like concentrated liquor. Oh, yeah, it's the same thing. Here you go. Good luck.
I don't know. I just thought,
It's like Sensi wax. It's the same thing. Just people are eating it.
But hey, just so you guys don't have to talk or do shit like this, if you need a test kit to find out if your MDMA is in fact illegal, go to testkitplus.com/professional hippies to verify that is an illegal substance and you should not be taking it. Yeah, so I mean, let's look at the ingredients here. It was Kana extract, mesamembrane, vegetable glycerin. So that's for this dude to be smokable, and propylene glycol. So I think, yeah, I mean, that's pretty straightforward stuff.
So it's an MDMA alternative, but it's smokable.
This one is, yes. And it does, in fact, say natural on the package, so there's nothing to be worried about there. And then the pill form, they give you another one that's in pill, has caffeine in it.
Have you tried it?
No, I was going to try it, but like the past couple of days since I received it, I needed to do legitimate work during the day.
Well, go ahead and throw on some lights,
I got to...
Just go ahead. We'll watch you.
I'm in the
We'll have
same
conversations
position. Right,
in the
no,
background.
so still shit going on. I mean, not that I wouldn't mind.
Now's a great time. Do it, pussy. Come on, man.
Sneak it in there.
Fuck you
Yeah.
waiting for?
I hear you. I do. Fair points. It's the when we're not doing this anymore that there's going to be an issue, right? So I got to be.
I mean, I think it's a great opportunity for our listeners to see what happens.
Yeah, right. Well, then we'll just have to real world it, follow me around with the camera after the podcast is turned off, and then just watch me stare at a wall and see pretty colors, I guess.
Just go big and we'll catch you on an episode of Cops.
Just transfer the camera to somebody else. That's a great way to do it.
I was listening to a guy the other day on TikTok, I think it was, talking about one of his meth benders, and he was talking about an episode of Cops. He was like, yeah, I was watching the live version, and then sure as shit, there's my house. And I'm watching all these cops around my house, and right when they go to bust into my door, I snapped out of it. I've been up for 4 days straight. There was no cops on. There wasn't even a TV in the fucking living room. I was just strung out. Yeah, baby. Ride that white lightning.
Oh man, that sounds like the end of like a festival trip. What is happening?
What is happening?
So that should
What?
be questioning every TV for the rest of your life.
I mean, meth and meth will probably have you questioning a lot of things if we're going to be frank about it.
Just a few things.
Just a couple. What drugs do you guys feel like should be legalized, and what do you feel like should not be legalized? Do you think blanket yes to all of it, or
No.
is there?
I mean, we've
Like-
seen what's happening in Portland when they sort of like let it loose.
Did they
Heroin
let
should
loose
not
on all
be-
the drugs?
Heroin should not be.
I think
legal.
it's
don't
pretty
think.
easy.
That should
I
be
think
one.
it should be heavily regulated. I don't like the word illegal, but anything you can overdose on, like alcohol or opioids,
Bleach.
nah. Anything you can't overdose on, like LSD or marijuana, should be. Isn't that how society is now, or is it the other way? I can't.
That's a good point. If it basically could kill you on too much of it, probably shouldn't be regulated a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, like fentanyl,
Right.
for example, like that. It takes so little to overdose on that, like without any kind of education or proper guidance, like that's extremely.
I was going to say
dangerous.
anything pretty much from if you can just like pick it up and it's a natural substance and just take it, that should probably be legal. Like if you
Agreed.
just boop,
Yeah.
eat it, good to go. Because pretty much none of that's gonna. If mushrooms, you can just gobble those up. I mean, you might lose your mind, but it's not gonna kill you from eating a ton of it.
I mean, here's the weird part. What is it? 20 Tylenol to kill you?
Yeah, I was just thinking. It's,
I don't know. I
also,
did hear
like,
some-
all the other mushrooms and shit. You could, like when you say that, you know what I hear? I'm just like, dude, there's so much shit that you could just put in your mouth and would kill you. But none of that is illegal.
Yeah.
Like none of the shit that's in the woods that you could literally just go. Let me go pick a random mushroom, put it in my mouth.
Yeah.
I'm dead. But that's totally
Imagine,
Why is it
imagine
that
a bunch of
illegal?
FBI agents just following you around on a nature walk. Like, don't look at it. Don't touch it.
Today on the trail.
You ate a blueberry. We got him.
I'd like to go.
We got him.
They're
Whoop!
just
We need
fucking
the
steam
cops sound button. We got him.
Just helicopter from a distance.
Guy, not you. Hold on.
Yeah, you get him. You tell him out.
Dude, it is fucked
Shoot.
up he treats his wife that way.
I
like
know,
the guy,
right?
but
Like-
come on.
Just shooting her out of there.
This podcast went from a respected, dignified platform to Adult Swim so fast.
I wish I had some Adult Swim music play and it just as pops up in the corner.
They do have
Is Adult Swim still a thing? Either of you guys got cable?
Yeah, dude, they have their own
I don't, but I
app
know
and
it's
shit.
still a thing.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, they're going strong.
Oh,
Yeah. I used to every now and then wake up real late, like 2, 3 a.m. and they had was Adult Swim Cartoon Network, and it came on at a certain hour and then went off at like
Midnight?
4 or 5. Yeah.
Midnight it turned over.
I remember seeing some of the stuff like Off the Air. Have you guys seen Off the Air?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So I remember seeing that as a kid and being like,
Yeah,
what
I
kind of
still
drug fueled? Right. And then you become an adult and you have a drug fueled night, and then you're like, hey, I get it.
Now we get it.
Right.
What was your favorite show on there on Adult Swim?
The one with the talking meatball.
Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a good one.
I liked Super Jail.
Super
Saw some
Jail.
Too strung
fucked
out
up
for
shit
me.
on that one.
I'm just a tried and true classic Futurama person myself.
Oh, Futurama was Adult Swim?
Oh, yeah. And
I thought that was Comedy Central.
I think it moved over to Adult Swim, or it was just played at the same time. Like Family Guy, you could play anywhere.
Futurama started on Fox. It was the same studio as Simpsons. It's like the same animation and shit. It was like
Is Simpsons still going?
for people who weren't idiots.
Oh, yeah. Simpsons still going. Family Guy still going. American Dad still going.
They're supposed to be bringing Futurama
They're all still
back,
going.
I heard.
No way. Family Guy is still going.
Family Guy still going. Futurama coming back would be awesome. Well, didn't the creators of Futurama create that sideshow for a little bit, Enchanted?
Mm-hmm.
Just didn't work out.
I didn't like that at all. But you know what? I am a big fan of Inside Job. If you guys watch that, that was my shit. Pretty similar.
I've watched a little bit of that.
Yeah.
I think a show that I love is Rick and Morty. That one I can
Solid.
Rick and Morty's
Man.
Everyone likes that one. We need more of that. We need more Rick and Morty's.
just. What I love is
Rick
that
and Morty, everyone else around them beats the fuck out of them right then.
that should be a law. That's a new, like mushrooms in nature. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so the creator of that show, that guy just really doesn't give a fuck at all, and so he's made so much money from that series already. Zero inspiration for like he's not chasing anything, you know. He's like I'm the man. Already thought that before you made the show, so he makes a crazy show that reinforces that he is the man, makes a ton of money, and he's just like, we'll fucking make it whatever we want. Like,
I hate
whatever.
that Midnight Gospel got canceled for the second season. They're not
Why
gonna
did that get canceled?
Who was that again? Who made that?
Duncan Trussell, and then
Yes.
the animator for what was the cartoon show?
Dude, Duncan Trussell's a man.
So it was because it got caught up in. So Netflix was trying to do a bunch of animated series, and it got caught up in there. And then the animated series really weren't doing too well, and then they wanted to go more big budget stuff. So I mean, think of like Peaky Blinders
Sure.
type of shows. So they've kind of segued away from the animated series, and unfortunately, that one just got caught up.
That
in
sucks, man. In my echo chamber, that show was doing really well.
it. So
Dude, that's the
good.
thing, it's totally like a cult thing and under the table
Love
in the
it.
first place. It's like even if you hit 100% of your audience is 10% of the population. So like the best case scenario is you're only getting like the shot out druggies that are on this podcast. You're not getting like the regular normal people.
But
Fair
the
enough.
word was taken up. Word picked up for it pretty quickly, though. I remember it. What was it? We were out in Tennessee when we watched that coming down from a trip. And Luke's like, "We got to watch this." All right.
Oh yeah, we were. Holy shit.
Yeah, and Luke's like, "This is a good come down watch here."
Yeah, that was great.
Sure enough, we watched it. And we were like, "This is perfect."
It was awesome. Sometimes I'll see a commercial for just some regular old suburban brain rot, like NCIS type stuff, you know, and I'm like,
Hell yeah.
what
Come to mind.
the fuck?
You like that stuff? The NCIS stuff?
I'm sure there's an NCIA too.
Yeah.
They've done all kinds of spins.
CSI, Las Vegas, Miami, Orlando, Los Angeles, New York.
Law and Order.
Yeah.
Like, but not even that. You know, to be fair and frank, like those shows have been on so long. Like, obviously they're hitting a major chord. Like the ones that are like a weird subsect of that somehow, you know, where it's like it budget
It's like
whatever,
some
but
sort
then
of- you think there's like a supply chain mentality to it of like, okay, well, we've spent 5 to 6 years getting everything streamlined and developed for us to just be punching out this mindless bullshit to everyone. And now we've just reached such a high level of efficiency where we can constantly roll out the bullshit that like it's just such an efficient cycle that it's worth keeping it on even though no one cares.
If it's making money, they're going to keep it on. If
what
it's
the
not
fuck
making
is
money-
the deal with humans liking watching other humans do regular look, one of the most major franchises ever, Friends. And what the fuck were they doing? They were just literally making like parodies of a regular ass life, a group of friends.
Look at Twitch.
Dude,
People just on there playing video games. People watching people play video games.
people love to watch other people live lives, man. It's not your life. You get to live vicariously. For cheap.
Yeah,
Cable's expensive.
cheap, yeah. Yeah, I guess that's true. It's the same idea as like why we like movies, right? So like a movie theater, they put a lot of thought into how to design that to make an immersive experience. So you kind of forget about yourself and live
Like
vicariously.
I think Friends put it out too high of an expectation for a lot of people out there. They wanted to live like that lifestyle, not realizing it was a TV show.
I'm gonna toe in the water on towards a split brain, but I mean, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's a like a viable, regular thought to want to live someone else's life, or do you think it's like mildly toxic that you're like, man, you should just be comfortable in your own skin?
I think it is toxic to the organism that's developed through evolution, but at the same time, this is kind of a weird one to try and explain, but the way that my brain wants to put it out there is that evolution as a whole, like all of whatever this is working towards, is pointing to some kind of VR, like getting out of this meat suit and being able to, one form of that could be live vicariously through others that are living a more higher expression of what you want to be, right? But I think that could also be just an expression of trying to get out of this and into some virtual hyper-connected space. I think that might be like one conduit that is connecting to the form and expression we can currently see, like a myopic network.
Sounds like at some point, you'll be able to turn, when you turn 18, you can be like, you can stay in this life or you can transfer over to this virtual one. Which one do you want to do?
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Fucking download my stack and whoever I want, man. You guys watch Altered Carbon? That was a fucking good one. Big fan of that.
That was a really good one.
Ooh, hell yeah. All about that stack life. But Colton, man, dude, I think you might be onto something, dude, because my personal philosophy is that, like, all right, so what is consciousness? Like, let's give a one-sentence definition on consciousness. Yeah, nobody's got shit. Nobody really knows. So my idea is that consciousness is probably just like the accumulative inputs of sensory observations. So like maybe I kind of like what you're saying is like, well, if you get to get other people's sensory inputs, I get to see what you see, I get to feel what you feel, I get to be in the environment that you are, then that's just like added extra data to my fucking like just data hungry consciousness that wants to know all existence. So, like, that maybe it's like a natural thing for consciousness to want to live more lives than they can live. Like, you just want more input. Maybe, and that probably ties into, like, people being addicted to social media, too. Like, how can I just get as much as I want? Or
I think, like, a form of consciousness is perception, the ability to perceive. Like, my personal belief is that living matter is conscious. I mean, 5 to 7, 8 grams of mushrooms will kind of help you feel and see like, okay, somehow all of this is fucking connected in a way that we really don't understand. And when I'm ripping that hook out of that fish's mouth, I do think that fucker feels it. And if he could, he'd punch me in the mouth too. But, here we are doing the consciousness thing. So the ability to perceive could be a definition of consciousness, right? And like you're talking about, like that hunger for the ability to perceive more and more experiences could be a reflection of what consciousness desires to do, rather than living in this one slice of consciousness and everybody's experiencing different dimensions, different slices of consciousness. The goal is for consciousness to have the ability to move laterally into other slices, and maybe with the anchor of returning back to the original slice. Perhaps, right? But having the ability to choose what slice do you want to live in. If there's a imperceivable amount of slices of consciousness, you being the dialect that gets to choose your expression of what you want your perception to be.
That's enough slices. Okay.
One bite, everybody knows the rules.
Dude. Fucking yeah, man. I mean, personally, I think only Christians are conscious. But, Dylan, what you got?
I almost like to think sometimes, y'all ever see the iRobot?
Oh, yeah.
Duh.
All right.
Yeah.
So sometimes I wonder if, like, there's a...
You ever seen Lion King?
Yeah, for real.
I bet there's people out there that definitely haven't seen that. All right, so...
Sure.
The version, of course, the one, not where everyone's regular, but finally the one where it starts gaining some sort of consciousness. The main robot character. It's almost like wherever that higher power is you go to when you're on DMT is like, all right, let's go ahead and make this version, and then we're just going to make 1 million of them, and it's an AI. And you just put AIs in all these different ones, because if you send an AI out, right, and you put it in 2 different parts of the world, and then you bring them back and just see what those AIs are as far as like what they've collected, it's going to be 2 different versions.
Oh, yeah.
So if you put all these different AIs in a whole bunch of different bodies, human bodies, and just send them out to the world, each one's going to have their own version of consciousness. And then all of a sudden, when we die, we're bringing all that information back to the hub and popping it in and what they've gathered.
Fuck, it hurts me to say that makes a lot of sense.
It's what I've thought about before of what the consciousness is. It's just an AI collection information.
But can you describe that environment when you were having that thought?
Yeah, I was.
Was that turning you on or something, Evan? Where's that question going, buddy?
I was out in the middle of Tennessee somewhere. I'll tell you
Yeah,
that.
dude. What were you wearing?
Other people.
Next to the river. Heard some banjo music.
I think it's funny that there are some really fundamental human questions that I dare to even say most people have. How many people are, what's the term, NPCs? Like filler people? Mm-hmm. Have you ever tried to have a conversation about the state of waking consciousness with folks that just flat out are not in this space or place to receive it? That just
I've met that.
Oh, yeah.
I've also met
want nothing to do with poking that box.
Because they're going to go directly towards probably what their belief are. Think of like a hardcore Christian, right? Like, oh, it doesn't matter. It's all God. God created it. Who created? You start going down that path. They're like, no, there's. It's
like a fucking firewall comes up on their brain. They just no. I'm like, what do you think's going to happen over there? You pull that thread and
it's like that's the kind of referring back to that's what that AI is going to take back to whatever to it. It's like, oh, this AI gathered whatever this religion is, and it takes it back to the hub. All right, let's not send things that direction.
What in your mind would be a defining piece of evidence that would either validate or invalidate Christianity?
Like probably 2 things I would say.
Like indisputably, like if this thing were to be presented,
a being shows up that, as presented in the Bible, it says you cannot look at me or see me, or basically you're killed and die. Like that's how blinding God is. That thing shows up and no one can fucking pay attention to it because it's like, oh, that's what that is. Or Jesus pops back up, shoots himself in the head, rises 3 days later, and is like, gotcha, bitch. That's probably one of those 2 things.
I like the first one. The second one seems like bullshit with modern science. And back to the original question, can you define Christianity?
Good question.
We went to church. Yeah, Christianity.
Is it the Southern Baptist? Is it the Catholicism?
That's where I get to marry a bunch of different wives, right?
One of them.
That's Utahism.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and
depends on how you say where you're from, I guess.
Taoism? Are you talking about Taoism?
Utahism.
Is that a euphemism for Taoism?
No, I honestly racked my brain, and then Dylan had just a great answer. Like, yeah, if something comes down as just relentlessly murdering atheist, I'll maybe stop being atheist. I'll check it out.
Okay, hear me out. I think so. There was a court that decided which books went to the Bible, a Christian council of sorts, right? Mm-hmm. It's said that those scrolls are still inside the Vatican.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Were those the ones that made that court? Were those the Crusaders?
I don't know. I'm riding on the edge of my knowledge here.
Constantine in Rome, dude, before he formed Constantinople, which then later became Istanbul. Oh, yeah, dude. It was all a government ploy, man. They were like, hey, we're going to tell them to do this, not do that, do this, not do that. Because Christianity.
Where did the King James thing come in? That was just some Totally different
English
king.
way after the fact. The English after the Romans. I was like 800 years later.
Gotcha.
Jesus, like I want my version.
Isn't that where we get the empirical measurement, the foot from? King James?
Maybe you have a 12-inch foot.
I don't know.
I mean,
But I do know this. I think about this all the time, man. If you, it, honestly,
I got a
especially
funky
nowadays-
toe.
That's weird. I saw the left nut on that one. If you really want to control the people, you have to control the information, man. So much respect for the Chinese on that one. Like, you just need to lock down
Respect
what
is the
people
word you're
know.
going to use.
Yeah,
Well,
dude.
the Sacred Mushroom book, like when I started reading that, it talks about in the beginning how, back in the day with, the Egyptian or whatever, Catholicism, Vatican, the priests would go back into their like sacred place, and no one else was allowed back there except only the holiest of holy could go back there.
Yep.
And it talks about like they were just doing mushrooms to basically be able to communicate with God, and no one else could go back there because that was their only connection. But they didn't want anyone else to know how they were supposedly communicating with God.
Well, it makes sense. How else are you going to keep the power?
Exactly.
Right.
The same thing as, what is it, the Eucharist or whatever? Like the ancient Greek Eucharist, like the secret ceremony?
I'm not sure.
I don't know on that one.
Oh, dude.
In Portugal, I saw some recently. The sacred place, they made it super skinny, the doorway to get in, so you couldn't
Oh, yeah.
eat too much in order to get
Too
in.
fat, Dylan? No problem. That's my problem.
They're like, we like the holiest holy, but you can't be a fat holy.
No
gotta be-
fat holies. Yeah.
This is a sacred, athletic, healthy place here.
I mean, you could see it really quickly, especially in old times. The dynamic of just social stratification has really only shifted in the last 40 fucking years. Before that, it was such a honor thy mother and father, this dynamic of
control the fucking information, man. All this bullshit, letting people educate themselves. That's fucking what's wrong with the goddamn world, man. Stop fucking.
It's amazing the
letting
internet
people fucking
hasn't
learn shit.
ripped the society apart.
Now it's honor your third stepdad. First mom.
Honor your adopted parents.
Yeah. Well, I got
When you put it
dads.
that way, it is really amazing that the internet has not just torn apart the fabric of society. But I guess the fear mongering would be the thing that holds
I
it
think that's
together.
what we're living through currently. I think it definitely is doing that.
Well, you control the
Colton's cutoff
information.
is whether or not the nukes are launched.
Well, yeah, but think of all the conspiracy theories that people put. I mean, Earth is flat, right?
True.
That's tearing people apart because they think they're finding all this information is correct, and that's just one of the theories that people dive into, and it's screwing them up.
For me personally, someone believing the Earth is flat is just a wonderful litmus test for if I can honestly regard any of their thoughts as.
That's an easy one. I've met people like that. They're like, Earth's flat. And I'm like, I just want to let you know our conversation's over. And I'm going to go this direction, and you're going to go that direction.
Dude,
So
No,
we're gonna
dude.
go ahead and-
send them
I've had
over.
some really good homies come out of the closet on this one, and I just immediately have
Bring them
to.
me, dude. I want those people. Don't ask why, but I need them. Give me their numbers.
No questions asked.
Yeah.
Referral basis.
I have an important job for them.
basis.
I'll send you Starbucks gift cards for each one.
They're untraceable. You can use them in over 3,500 locations nationwide. Good as cash.
Yeah, I don't understand I'll have the conversation with people that want to have it, but then if all of a sudden if you spend 5-10 minutes on it and they want to keep going down that, we're done.
I mean, I really, really wonder which conspiracies are just ironclad, front to back, fucking
I want
true.
a circle of influential friends, not a flat one. All right, I need
Right.
you to
Yeah.
get out of here.
I don't know.
I mean,
There's a couple. I mean, MK Ultra. Maybe, I don't know. How you
a
guys
good one.
MK Ultra is not even a conspiracy.
That's obviously came out.
Yeah, the MK Ultra is just a.
The moon landing. Motherfuckers did not land on the moon.
You don't think? All right, I got honest truth. You
about
don't
that
think
one.
they landed on the moon?
No. Damn, that was.
So what if we
Sound
go
firm.
back
Hold on, let me
within the
let me
next?
pump.
What if we go back here the next? Obviously, we're going to be back there the next 5 years, and then they're like, "Here's a picture of the freaking everything that we left here before."
All right, one, Dylan, that's fucking bullshit. Because Photoshop and photo editing is like a bazillion times better than it was in the '60s. But
True.
two, what I was.
But what if they're like they're showing the approach? Like, what if they live stream the whole approach, like getting out of the thing, and they're like, "Look, we landed right next to the old flag."
I need a Colton on synthetic MDMA all day. Follow their life nonstop until they're done.
Like from live stream to
Yes,
landing on
yeah,
that thing.
To land, go in, eating dinner
showing
with
it.
the family, taking a shit, coming out.
Yes.
Motherfucker didn't wash
Yep.
his hands.
Sign me up.
Okay,
I'm ready.
on the moon. Yeah.
I can do it. I can do it.
I need
Yeah, put me in, coach.
3 to 4 season reality show.
There's a reason it has to be on VH1 or VHS.
So okay, let's ask this question then, right? So
VH1,
the
not VHS.
Saturn
Okay.
V it launched.
Go ahead, Saturn boy. Go ahead. My bad.
Saturn V launched, right? Everyone
Ah,
saw it. There was
moonboy.
witnesses to it. So where did the Saturn V go if they didn't land on it?
What?
Where did the Saturn V rocket go? And everything
The fucking
go?
booster?
No,
So
with
we-
No,
the
he's saying when they
the
land
rocket.
On the, yeah.
Okay, so we didn't land on the moon. Where did the thing?
I know
that
we didn't,
launched
bitch.
into the air with all the equipment and if like astronauts in it. Where did that go then? If that didn't land on the moon,
Are you fucking serious? Are you saying? Wait. Just get this straight.
Colton, please make him run it back. Please.
No,
Why?
no.
How is that?
You're
How do y'all
Run
not
it
understand
forward
that question?
faster. Run it forward faster.
Run it into the ground, baby.
This man. Wait, have you ever just gotten to space, Dylan, and gone, all right, where's the fucking rocket?
Fucking rocket, dude. They fucking
Like someone would get up to the edge of space and go, oh shit,
How the
there
fuck
it is.
That's what Jeff Bezos did. He was like, "Oh, got the edge, came back."
Dude, that's
Dude,
going to give me heart
He has
arrhythmia.
enough fucking money. Like, could you imagine? He probably has enough money just to go off into space, just to jack off, just to see if it feels different, and then come back and just be like, "Nah, I was."
Dude,
not
he
the
has
same."
way more money than is needed for that feat. Definitely.
I want that live streamed.
I
I want Jeff
I
Bezos
would-
going
You
up there,
wanted Jeff
jack it
Bezos.
off. I would be like, I want to see what this looks like. That's millions of dollars.
How bad
put
would
towards
you feel
that?
if he blew that load and then he was like, "It was so much better. I'm never going back to Earth."
Do you know how many people would become rocket scientists immediately, like overnight?
What I don't
We
understand
need
is
to put
that
big bitches with big titties on the moon, baby. That's how we advance the space program. Big moon titty.
get that
Titties
man
on the
a
moon.
space program. Yeah, I mean,
Let's get a Hooters up there. Hooters restaurant on the moon.
that's how you'll really get some rednecks mobilized.
Hell yeah, moonshine club, dude. Let 'em
Hear me out though. Shut the fuck up for a second. The amount of publicity that SpaceX gets, and then Blue Origin, Jeff Bezos' company, made a pretty competitive product.
No,
not
it didn't.
not nearly the same.
At all. It is not
Hey,
nearly
Colton,
competitive
after warn you,
whatsoever.
Dylan cares.
I
When I
care
say-
about the space program here. This is, yeah, it is nowhere near the SpaceX program.
Hold on. Shut the fuck up.
You shut the fuck up because you have no clue what you're saying after you said that.
Yeah, no,
This is like a
no.
flat earther here.
You need to get off of Elon's dick for a second to hear me, because
I'm
Jeff
sorry.
Bezos' splooge in your ear is not helping this conversation.
I'm sorry.
Okay?
Someone that's building a rocket to go to Mars compared to
Who's
someone
building a
that's
rocket go to
gone
Mars?
the
Is that
edge
what
of
it- is
Earth
that what it
is
is?
completely two different
Dylan's
worlds.
feels
Someone that
getting
has
hurt.
a rocket
Yeah,
that
the
returns back
Dogecoin
to
boy.
Earth with
The
two
Doge-
boosters and lands right back side by side next to
No,
each
so I'm
other.
just talking about space tourism. Like, Okay, so that's what I mean. Like, Elon SpaceX is clearly, I don't know what, 5 to 10, 20x more developed and more capable. But I didn't fucking hear jack shit really about Blue Origin until Elon was like, "You suck, Jeff. Give up." Like that was the first time I was like, "Wait, Jeff Bezos has a rocket company?" And they have been taking people up to the edge of space.
Yeah, they've been taking a bunch of people up there. Yeah, one of the first.
And people aren't dying, so they're doing it right. I mean,
he's gone up. Every time that thing has gone up, he has gone up in it, which has been interesting to say the least on that one.
You say every time it's gone up, he's been in it?
Every time it's gone up, Blue Origin, the tourist attraction has gone up. He has gone up with it, with everyone else in there.
Dylan, you're my boy, but you don't have to do the physical. Like, we understand the rocket, it's going to go up.
Is it going up or is it going down? Up,
that
down,
not helping.
Up,
yeah,
down, up,
yeah,
down,
we're good.
Up, down.
We're good. Up.
Okay,
we got it.
I feel like I just lost some brain cells.
What if he sends 2 up at the same time?
If you guys want to watch us getting up, be sure to tune in to Spotify.
When they
if you go, that's coming back down to Earth.
Yeah, exactly.
If you go to Kennedy Space Center, it's kind of interesting to where SpaceX has all of their facilities inside with the rocket building. Outside of Kennedy Space Center property, there's Blue Origin.
No kidding.
Outside the
true?
property.
I've been to Kennedy and I've seen it, but I haven't noticed the.
As you're approaching Kennedy Space Center, it's on the left. Blue Origin is all the way on the right.
That whole area is trippy, right? Could you imagine like buying a house in that area? That area is fucking wild. It's like its own community.
He was on here. Joey used to live over there at Kennedy Space Center because his dad worked over there, and he said when he was in school and they would have rocket launches, the whole school would start shaking across. Like that's just a common thing that you get used to over there.
That is crazy. I mean, that's
like, well,
that's why they spray all the water, right? Is just to keep the sound, the decibels down. That's the purpose.
The sound
behind the water.
and it's just so hot and heat in order to not burn up all their equipment down below.
Yeah, that's trippy, man. I can, but I kind of can't believe. Back to the LSD thing we were talking about earlier when you just sit by the river.
Can I stop you, please? I really need to wrap this up. I need to put a bow on it. A nice hat, if you will.
As long as it's a flea circus, I can get behind it.
Damn, that would be cool as fuck.
So what happened to the Saturn V rocket when it launched up and no one landed on the moon?
I was fucking joking, okay, but I wasn't. They did really land on the moon, but they also, in the case of PR instance that the feed was dropped off because the fucking live feed to the moon was bullshit and it was shitty, they actually did record just them stepping foot on the moon so they could still run the news program. There's like
let's run it back a little bit more. The flag's not moving. They did set up a studio, so they could create a PR, video in order to put out to the public.
I totally believe that it was faked and really happened.
And that's exactly what the truth is. And the fucked up point is that the faked moon landing really fueled the fucking idiots. And just imagine a scenario where science was like, well, we're not really sure, so we're going to write one book on the Earth being flat. All the rest of them, it'll be round.
I mean, that's the thing. That's the fundamental principle of science is that everyone that dedicates their life to science is looking for an opportunity to further their passion of science, which means they got to disprove or prove some shit really solidly to get grants, which are influential to what they research and what they do. But if there's an opportunity for a prominent theory to be taken down, so to speak, like, I don't know, the fucking planet being flat instead of round, someone's going to go after that pretty heavy with some new groundbreaking.
Dumbass one like flat Earth or fake moon or COVID. You got something that's real?
So, I didn't prepare any fucking notes for this podcast as far as like what would be worthy of your breath. But, in the course of conversation, those happen to come out. Yes.
Zach, dude.
I mean, how about the Nord Stream pipeline? Do you think the U.S. did it? Or do you think it was a bad actor in, say, Britain? Do we think it
Why the
was
fuck would we do
Germany?
that shit?
Well, because Biden was on tape saying, we're going to do it.
Wraps that one up. All right. So on to the next theory.
Yeah, knock that one out, dude. I don't know why they don't bring us in to figure this shit out.
On to the next bulletin.
9/11.
9/11. Move on to that one.
Well, that one's pointless.
John F.
They
Kennedy.
They got Bush on tape. Said we did it.
Alaskan Bush people.
Did you say Bush people?
Shout out to the Alaskan Bush Company if anybody knows what that is.
What is that? Tell us more.
I don't want to ruin the magic. Just keep going.
All right. Well, anyway, back to 9/11. Was 9/11 an inside job? I need to know. 100%.
100%. Yeah, I think so. I think it involved
10%.
the terrorists and private people working with them in order to make it happen.
Fair
I don't
enough.
think it was so much the U.S. government itself. I think it was people that are connected within the U.S. government trying to make that shit happen.
Can we talk about something else?
Sure.
You're like, gotta put a bow on this, gotta put a bow on that, gotta cap this one off. Let's wrap that.
I mean that one is a toughie for Gutros here.
Yeah, that's
Well, Gouchard, you give us.
They don't want me to talk about stuff like that.
Wait a minute, who's they?
This really is gonna. If we keep going, we'll have to start editing shit.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Wait.
We'll talk offline
Who
about
do
that
you
one,
work?
Dylan.
Who do you work for?
I'd love to tell you, but when the record button's not on.
Next camping trip.
Yeah. Oh,
That'd be
dude,
great camping trip. Oh, dude, we should book a camping trip. I've actually been.
you guys seen my cat's asshole lately? Just in case you haven't.
Just in case.
Just the pictures I took on my phone. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't mean that. I did. That came out wrong.
Do you think it's worth putting a couple grand in old Mini Winnie the Brave and getting the steering perfect?
Yes,
No.
100%.
No,
Make that happen.
no, he's fucking with you. I care about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause
Put money into that steering column.
Yeah.
That is the worst steering column. Though it does
hates
keep you awake.
it
does
definitely
not-
keeps you awake.
It keeps you awake at least. Cause
Dude, there's nothing like white knuckling for.
you get light for a second. That thing just
It'll go.
tests you a
Well, I got an
little
alignment done the other day. That did help marginally. Here's the funny part. The shop came back with the guy, was like, all right, we got a list. And so I called back and I was like, hey, man, just need to know what of this I can do. And they're like, yeah, we did the alignment. And I'm like, no, all the shit the reason I came in was to know what needs to get done. And they're like, yeah, we don't have that. We'll call you back, is what I was told. But the tone was, I don't know what the fuck this shit's at, but I'm going to tell them I'm going to call them back. So I don't know if you guys know how to replace bushings.
It's
or
interesting
kingpins.
that these places like have a hard time with it, but old Mini Winnie there kind of reminds me of like you get an old 92 F-150, right? There's no electrical components really to it. It's just
Not much. Yeah.
Fix it.
Yeah.
Like it's not
I
you
do
could
miss- I
you
do
could do
miss
it,
old
right?
machines
That's
like
what
that.
Mini Winnie looked like. There's not a lot of electrical parts to it. It's
Yeah,
just
those were
that,
good
and
old
it's when you
days.
take it to a mechanical shop, it's like this is a mechanical problem. You are what we call a mechanic. This is an electronic problem. You are a mechanic. How can you be like, we don't know what to do? Well, then you should shut down.
I don't understand
I
how.
missed it. I had a buddy with an old 70s Ford, and it still had a mechanical fuel pump. Not electric, but a mechanical fuel pump. And I was like,
How the fuck's
damn,
that
those are
work?
the good years. Literally, like, you ever fucking seen that shit on the water? Like,
Sure.
you're just pumping water?
Yeah, yeah,
Literally that,
Mhm.
but it had a wheel on the ass end where the big stick would be, and then the
Okay.
wheel was attached to the belt drive. So the wheel would make that
No
pump
kidding.
go up and down. But the same fucking mechanism. Literally just pumping that shit.
Wow.
Wow. That's cool.
Inefficient.
Well, I mean, 'cause-
probably got half a mile to the gallon. Yeah.
Well, true. I mean, my 7.5 liter, whatever the fuck that monstrosity is aspirated.
that's
So
so
it's
much.
pretty interesting. Dude,
I want to
so
take that
much.
thing to Bonnaroo
Is that
so
thing
bad.
carbureted?
think that'd be a great trip.
Yeah.
You got a carburetor? Dude, I
Yeah.
need to come check that thing out. Also, I've been meaning to ask you, like, dude, you've had a pretty fucking awesome life. You've been able to do a lot of things that people can't do. But there's still, like, a little bit out there, some shit you could do, man. And on that list, insurance fraud and arson.
I've thought about arson.
Have you thought about
many
insuring
times?
old Winnie? Have you thought about insuring old girl for about 6 months? And then we just fucking have the hell of a time blowing her up.
You know, it's funny. I had a similar conversation with the insurance agent because I don't know why, what compels me to get this kind of insurance, but every vehicle I've owned, not on myself, just the vehicles, they say, what would you like? And I say, I want enough coverage to be able to drive through a building, hit a couple kids, and go out the window and be good. And they're like, all right. So...
Sir, you must have went to Yale. We have you.
Yeah, on the 98, they don't really insure it like that. They legitimately assume that thing's gonna fall apart at any moment.
Yeah,
they insure
just
it.
Value it as like $2,000, and they're like, "Well, just whenever you want the $2,000, let us know."
Yeah, like to cost. That is, and that's if it gets obliterated on the fucking highway. I was like, is there a way to insure? I was like, what happens if something breaks down? And they're like, if. What? Doesn't it look like Dylan froze? I think Dylan froze. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, they take aggregates of everything. They're running numbers on whether or not it's worth it or not. But I can't necessarily blame them on something like a 98 RV. The thing leaks like a fucking sieve, man.
Dude, hell no. Again, it's just a giant fucking aggregate numbers game, man. And obviously, in the world of vehicles on the road, your shit's the one who's about to fucking blow up.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. For sure. Yeah. You think I don't know that?
They definitely
Dude, we were camping and everybody woke me up at like 2 a.m. They're like, what smells like gas? I was like, chill out. Y'all go to bed. Everyone's fucked up. It smelled like gas. It smelled like burning gas. It was because the heater came on. There was old stuff in the heater vents.
Oh, yeah, burning off dust. Yep.
Yeah. And I was like,
I need to check old girl out, dude. I'd love to see her.
dude, it's cool, man. I enjoy it. I replaced a window the other day, and that is not what they make it seem like. Taking the window out of an RV and putting it back in. There's all this stuff. You got to seal it and whatever, you know. It's RVs, man. We don't have to go there. Isn't that sweet?
I don't want to go there.
And that, but the thing about an RV is you can take it there.
Yeah, I don't want to.
I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere.
Yeah, I bet. Don't bring me.
Where?
Any of those places you've been.
You know when they first started doing LSD, they thought it was to induce psychosis. Like that, the idea was like, let's see what madmen think and see and try to become that.
I could kind of see that because, oh shit, yeah, I'm sure you know. But who's the original dude who found it whenever he was making like the alterations in the various chemical substances from ergot? Main founder guy. They did his like birthday.
Oh, it's gonna haunt me now. 'Cause I'm over here thinking of Timothy Leary.
A little bit before him, but I mean, dude was a super straight.
Ottman. It's close. I don't know. I'll think of it. I'll just scream it out when I'm taking a shower later tonight.
Yeah, but he was a straight-laced regular dude, man. So I'm sure after he found it and like that conversation in between him, could you imagine that fucking sales pitch in between the dude who just tripped for the first time and then trying to tell other people? You're literally the first person. Could you imagine trying to explain what it was like to other people? Just be like, I don't know, man. I was trying to cook and my fingers dripped off onto the floor into a puddle of liquid. And then I was okay later.
When it absorbed through his glove or into his skin or whatever, they said that was just kind of like a perceptual trip, meaning he noticed there was kind of like stuff going on in his vision and his reality, right? The next one he took was 6, what was it? I want to say six micrograms. No. Yeah, six micrograms.
Is that like a lot or
so
little?
It's somewhere around 40 to 60 UGs is like a tab of acid. So I want to say...
Is it a weird shaping U, as in micro?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
Like a U
so if that's 40 to 60 micro, he took somewhere around 100 times that for his first trip. And that's what we celebrate as Bicycle Day. Because on the ride home, his world got fucking groovy.
So do you think, I gotta ask an expert? Well, not that you're an expert. Honestly, I don't consider you qualified.
I was about to turn around, but okay.
Yeah. So would that large of an LSD trip be like a DMT trip, or am I just getting my alphabet confused?
To be frank, I've never taken, like, Ashley would be a better person to ask than me.
I mean, like ayahuasca, like that time period, like being that.
I don't think it would be as close to. I think ayahuasca would be closer to DMT than LSD would be closer to DMT. I don't think LSD would get you to the space DMT will. I think LSD will get you to the space of disconnecting you from your ego.
With the proper dosage, you don't think you could reach that?
I don't think so. No, I don't think that's what that would be.
You think there's too much emotion?
This is from just research. I don't think it would, because it's a different compound that's happening to your brain in that space. I was
thinking about this earlier when we were talking about something, and I remembered a article I read about them using Google supercomputers to figure out new types of psychedelics, new types of hallucinogenic drugs, and Google came up with a seemingly infinite amount. It was like millions of different compounds that potentially could be psychoactive for humans. And so when you think about the difference between MDMA to psilocybin to LSD to DMT to 2CB, 2CI, all these kind of different research chemicals and stuff like that, they all do have different perceived qualities, like as far as your trip.
DMT, I feel like though is completely different in the fact that that's the compound that's released when you're passing, right, to the great beyond.
We think,
right? That's what's being released.
We don't. That's a theory, by the way. That's not like a for sure. We know that.
That's scientifically proven. That's what's they've recorded someone passing, and then the DMT is that flooded their brain.
I would at least observe.
They watch the reaction of what's going on.
I would at least observe the fact that DMT is naturally synthesized inside the mind, where psilocybin and MDMA. Well, okay, all right.
Well, synthesize it inherently means that it's. Yeah, but I mean, all these. The only reason why some of these synthetic chemicals interact is because they're modulating analogs that already exist in the brain. So they're essentially just like playing dress up and replicating functions of what is produced in the body. Like psilocybin, for example, is hijacking stuff. Is saying, release this, do this, like more of that, right? Or I am this. And so the trip is your body flushing out neurotoxins. Whereas with DMT, that hits your blood, that goes to your brain. Your body goes, oh, we know what to do with this, and starts rapidly breaking it down because it already exists. So the point I was itching at here is there's different kind of like connections to deities, different kind of connections to, like with DMT, it's kind of like everybody has similar states. Everybody sees similar things. With Molly, people have kind of MDMA, they have similar experiences. So how many drugs are out there where it's like a connection to a different kind of God, a different kind of consciousness that we don't even know about yet?
Okay.
That we're not.
I don't want to take like a negative aspect to it, but I mean, how much do you believe that all of that is just a synthetic construct? That like literally, all right, so this idea that consciousness is just the accumulation and the aggregated data of all the inputs that we put into it, but to include all of the sensory data from like visual, audio, what we like to use the term set and setting, but also just like the chemical and the like endocrinology and shit like that. Like there's so much fucking chemical makeup inside of your brain, and that's what you're really altering. So like you ingest a chemical substance and then it goes into your bloodstream. Well, now that's also kind of a form of input, just like visual or audio or anything like that. Well, how much of all of that is just some sort of like mathematical calculation of the construct? So there's not really DMT fairies or like hallucinations or anything like that. It's just now that you have this additive substance that changes, the letter X in the algebraic equation, that it now changes regular daily life to extra colorful life, or regular love to extra powerful love, or blah 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 blah. Like do you think?
I think that argument can be made with when you see fractals and things. I think that argument can be made for that, but when you're going to seeing pretty much the same beings across multiple people from different parts of life in general, and they're all kind of seeing generally the same thing, it's hard to make that argument from a mathematical standpoint. But I feel like when you're seeing fractals and things, and you're seeing lines, and you're able to see kind of things divided out in the same aspect, I feel like that could be where definitely the mathematic portion could come into play.
I definitely have a question for you, but I'm sure Colton's probably got something to say. Nope.
What?
All right. Never mind. Dylan, so like, do you think it's more of like the fact that like, so maybe consciousness is more of like, to use a physics term, fundamental, and that our brain, like that idea that like the mind is more of an antenna, and through the right operations, you're almost like dialing a knob on the radio, and that everything is out there.
Definitely put off a wave
in the right way.
Everything definitely puts off a wave, right? And I would definitely say the brain is definitely a frequency that's picking up a signal, because there's definitely been, many a times where people have put, they've taken something and they're feeling like, let's say you take something of mushrooms, right? And you go into the forest.
I'm taking something right now, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying the thing out.
Right,
I told you I would.
The cops, bud. Go on.
Let's say let's talk about like positive energy, right? You walk into a room full of positive energy, you're definitely able to feel that compared to walking to a funeral. That's a completely different model. That's frequencies being put off in some aspect, right? That's why a lot of people, let's go with something I've kind of discovered recently, the people that go into a gospel and they're like praising Jesus or whatever, but then you go to like a YouTube or a Red Hot Chili Peppers concert, whatever your favorite band is, you get the same feeling. You're like, oh, that's just a frequency that I'm getting that's being put off.
For sure.
Well,
for sure.
I think that's in a way, when you go and take something like that and you start seeing the fractals, well, it's a subconscious that you're dropping to being able to distort it. Because I feel like we're being, like, whatever it is in our brain right now is distorting so we don't see those things. So it just looks like from a survival instinct. Because if all of a sudden you start seeing fractals all the time from a survival instinct, that would be super difficult in order to maintain, right? So our brain is kicking in something in order to compile it together and be like, all right, visually we can see these things regularly and we're able to survive. But then if you drop that survival instinct, which I go, if I distort my mind when I take substances, I can't, something come to me, it'd be hard to survive in general during that time frame, right? So, but during that time frame, your survival instinct kind of drops and more, I don't know what you would call from the mathematical standpoint, jumps in. So
dude.
like, oh, the things are in a
You
grid line.
need to read that book. I've been telling you to read about that. I told you it was super influential that you know wanted to name the podcast after and shit like that. Because everything you're talking about is exactly what started the entire thing, man. I think I can't remember what he calls them, but he calls them like fitness variables. So this idea that like, okay, there's a huge fucking spectrum of shit in the world, but it turns out that if I try and care about 100% of the bullshit, then I'm going to be fucking like, I'm going to be easy picking because I'm so distracted. But if I just narrow my bandwidth down to like 2% of everything that's out there, then I can be like a really efficient biological machine and I can survive. But then, and then he spends pretty much his whole entire career trying to prove the thesis that we're only able to observe that 2%. And exactly like you just said, as soon as we start to open our mind and observe more than the 2% that we're capable of observing, if you're another physics person, like the other, 97.5% of dark matter in the universe or something like that, there's so much out there that we're incapable of observing that the idea is that as soon as we were capable of observing it, then we wouldn't be efficient enough to survive. Like, it's a requirement evolutionary and biologically for us to be so efficient that we have to throw the other 98% in the trash, to include fractals.
Yeah. I almost wonder when you have an overloader, like I hate to take it to this point, but this is the only thing that's coming to my mind in the instance of when like some people kind of see things and they just can't handle that type of information. They overload and they have to just blow their brains out and they have to be like, that's too much. In a way, I almost look at that as being like an overdose of information when they can see past everything now, maybe even without substances. Because there are people out there that are like that. They don't need a substance in order to see what you're seeing, right?
Yeah.
And so when your brain all of a sudden triggers to be able to see more information, I wonder if because of our survival instincts, that if we go past that, we're just like, oh, I can't. This is an overload. I can't take that anymore.
You ever? Sorry, I'm a big reader, man. I sound like a fucking nerd. But you ever read Carhart Harris's work?
Say that. Sorry, I said one more time.
Carhart, like the jacket, Carhart Harris.
I haven't. I'm going to though.
No, dude, he's exactly kind of like you're just talking about too. But imagine like a fuel gauge on a vehicle, and you have empty and full. But the idea is you're familiar with like brain plasticity, and then the opposite of brain plasticity is like just rigid construction. And it's exactly like you're talking about. People who are too far, and his proposition is on both ends, all the way to empty, all the way to full, are deep mental illnesses. And that the best thing to do is to be in the middle. Personally, like myself, and I think you guys maybe a little bit more on the plastic side, but that you have a fully plastic mentality that like nothing is real, more kind of like absurd, schizophrenic, or maybe like constantly tripping mentality of like, okay, this TV could turn into a crab and jump on my face at any time, or something fucking like wild that just seems unrealistic, or the vice versa, which usually happens with depression and paranoia and stuff, is that your brain has such a rigid understanding of the universe that like you know exactly what's happening, no matter like how quote unquote real or unrealistic it is. You're just like, I fucking know that everyone is watching me through my windows while I'm sleeping. Like, I fucking know that the world is supposed to be this certain way. And again, that's where a lot of depression comes from, is the expectations that are set. You're like, oh, well, I know that this is how things are supposed to be. And when these expectations aren't met, that's when I become depressed, because I know how things should be, but they don't happen. So that's your full gauge. You want to live somewhere in the middle of like, okay, like I should know that like when I come home, my house is probably going to be in the same spot that it was in yesterday. But also vice versa, that you're like, hey, every fucking day is different. You don't know what's going to land in your lap. Just be open and be open-minded and be ready to learn. So, like, you want to live somewhere in the middle of those two things. But that's just like a rough-rounded. If you really get into his, like, deep cognitive science work, it's, like, super specific on, like, why the brain works that way.
Do you think, kind of on track and a little different, do you think deja vus could be to where our mindset opens up a little bit at that point to overlap into something else, and then that's where it's seeing something?
Unfortunately, I disagree. I think it's the opposite. I think it's where you start to lean towards a more rigid construct of the world that you actually perceive things before they happen. And then when they happen, that's when you're like, oh, I've already hypothetically thought of this scenario. Like, I've already seen myself watching the new Marvel.
The only
movie
thing I
eating
see different
popcorn.
with that is I have had a dream before, and then it happened. And I also, what was really weird is I had a deja vu once while I was tripping. And that was very interesting, is like, that was the longest I've ever seen it coming. And then it felt like a page turn, and then it just kept going. Like, I know that's what it is, but normally it just happens pretty quickly. It felt like a solid 5 minute.
I've had a moment like that. I've had like where it lasted a long time.
It was a very weird situation. But yeah, sometimes I feel like that's an overlapping scenario where whatever is happening in another place, another dimension, let's say. And this is the one time our brain's like, oh, I recognize this because it's happening at somewhere else at the same point. It's another just AI drop somewhere.
Well, I mean, what do you think it is? If I think it's that your brain is trying to build a simulation of the universe around it and then play out hypothetical simulations, and then your real life is actually like eerily and uncannily similar to a simulation that it's ran while dreaming or thinking or anything like that, then that's deja vu. What do you think deja vu is?
I think deja vu is an overlap of happening somewhere else at the same time. Either it's happened already in the future, and now I am catching up to it, and it just so happens that somewhere else, my other being somewhere else is overlapping something that's already happened at some point, right? Like that other being of me in another dimension has already happened maybe a day ahead of time, and I just so happened to catch up at that point, and that's what happened during that time frame. And then we separate.
That's a lot cooler than my idea.
What's your idea?
I said it for 5 minutes.
You're just way too high, man.
I'm over here laughing my ass off because I just started looking at Colton. Bro, what's in that?
I mean,
can you pass that through the internet or?
Pass that shit over.
I think you're both onto something there. Like I felt like deja vu is either a simulation or a string theory of another universe that I'm somehow like interfacing with. But I also think it could be a collection of previous experiences or thought experiments about what the future could hold, and then somehow that becoming eerily similar to the reality that intersects with that, right? Where it's like, oh, I've kind of thought about this before, and then your brain's like, oh, this is a familiar experience, and it somehow is like feeling, because the deja vu is more of a feeling than anything else, right? It's like a recognition of, I've been here before. This feels familiar. Like I've done this before.
Yeah. And to that point, the only way I see it being different from what my thought was is that I have had a dream before, and then it did come true to life in like that exact scenario. But I feel like because of how many, you're dreaming every night or whenever you fall asleep for the most part. So you're having that many dreams eventually, because the dreams are built for what your surroundings are, that eventually you're just going to create a scenario sometimes that like that's just kind of a similar situation is going to happen.
And that's kind of my sales pitch. Yeah, it's like you had that dream, and then turns out that dream was realistic, and then like 2, 4, 5, 10 days later, you live that dream.
The hardest ones though is when you're off somewhere else that you've never been to before, and then
right. I was just thinking about that. Like I was looking off at a cliff one time and had a deja vu, and I was like, I never fucking thought I'd be here in a million years. Like why is this
those are the
deja
weird
vu?
ones? You're like, or you're driving somewhere you've never been, and you have a deja vu. You're like, I have never been anywhere in this environment before. And then you have that.
You're living another life, bro.
String theory is super trippy.
well.
I mean, I think this stuff, whatever the fuck this is about, I don't know that I'm ready to endorse that. I'll have to check that out off the air and come back to that. But there's
having a whole Adult Swim episode right now.
I mean, it was
Stuck in super jail right now, bro. Give him a break.
a little bit. Yeah, you want to talk about fucking throwing some slime in your brain, slowing everything down. That's what that felt like. There's fuck. What we're talking about? String theory, multiple
String
universes,
Deja vu.
Well, you guys were talking about like the filtering out of the kind of reality, because if you were taking in everything.
Go on your rant.
Yeah. Have you guys heard about that woman that remembers everything?
I mean, I know there's
seen any videos of her
like that.
No, yeah. So like
that's a lot of guilt.
That woman, she's like, this is a living hell. She's like, I really don't want to be here, but I also don't want to kill myself. So I'm just kind of like figuring out how to like just live with it. But she remembers just about fucking everything.
God damn.
So,
imagine getting in an argument with that bitch.
No. No.
Holy hell.
She'd be mad.
Like,
first off,
I know I'm bullshitting, but I'm confident about it. You know what I mean? Like, I know I'm lying, but I'm trying to pull that shit off. You know?
I don't like lying. I don't.
That's where you just always say you're right. What should I have for dinner? You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. You decide.
Did you say, what should I always have for dinner? You're right.
Yeah. If like trying to argue with someone like that, like you can't. You just be like, you already know what's right. Just tell me what's right.
I've adopted the okay approach. And this is something I think maybe I've adopted from you, Evan.
Yes.
All right.
It's known in nature as playing possum. Pretend you're dead, and maybe she'll quit yelling at you.
Yeah, I know, hey, I'm fucking sure shit. I'm right. I'm in the green, but I'm not. I'm in the red. I'm in the black. I'm dead. And so I want whatever circumstances, whatever situation, I want that to be over. I want to end. Next thing has got to be more satisfying than whatever I'm in right now.
Oh, yeah.
So
you just tell me what to tell you, and I'll say
But not even an argument. Someone just so dead set the right, and you just, okay. All right.
And the worst is when that doesn't even work, and they're like,
Oh, God,
"I want your opinion. What do you mean? You're just agreeing with me?"
Yeah.
Wait a minute. No. That's not. We're not going down that path right now.
That's why we have to control the information, boys.
It
I
comes
agree.
back.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yes.
All right, I gotta wrap it up, guys.
Let's land the plane.
And
Let's land this rocket back from maybe the moon.
All right.
Hope everyone enjoyed this. Another great episode. What were we gonna say?
I was gonna say I'm in the middle of rereading that book that you guys really touched on, with both the like filtered mind and fitness mechanisms of evolution, and also like the mentality shit that Colton was talking about. So I vowing to promise finish reading that book, and then grill me with your intense ass trippy questions, and I will be educated. I'll also be funnier. I feel like I've been a fucking lame ass.
You have been. You've been a little piece of shit.
The whole time, man. I wasn't gonna say anything.
I was like, do we even want to post it?
All right.
I could see you the whole time in your damn camo.
I know. You gotta wear
I don't
something
know where
a
you
little
been.
bit more vibrant. I liked you in the woman's dress more personally.
Personally, yeah.
I've been uncomfortable
more.
after you
Excuse
guys
me.
made me tuck my dick around my belt loops and stuff.
When you were in the woman's dress, I was like, he's right. He's right. Now you're not. I'm like, I don't know.
Jesus. All right. Well, if you guys like this episode, share it with whoever you want to share it with, and most importantly, leave a review. It does help us with the algorithm. So if you're watching on Spotify,
Subscribe. Follow.
yeah,
Love it.
Maybe unsubscribe at this point. Evaluate your life decisions, because you're one of us and we are one of you. Hey, we love you guys. We'll see you next time.
Peace. 6-2. Peace.
Flat Earthers join my army.